Howdy ho, neighborino. Second last chest on level 7. Oh, thank God it was the CHRONO APEP piece that we wanted. Oh, that could have been a key. And that would have sucked. Oh, we actually got pretty lucky there. So, we managed to get all of the pieces of CHRONO APEP before we actually found the key on level 6. And for once, I didn't want to find the key until the last chest this time. So that was actually pretty good for us. So 25 pieces done. And he will take 3 days and 20 hours to hatch. But this does mean that we don't have the Anubis dragon yet, but I've already got an Anubis dragon, so I don't know if I really want it, but that is pretty lucky. I am happy, and that is the reason that I went back and collected all of the other pieces first, instead of completing the whole of level 7. You see, this means that now we've got an entire other chest that we can choose whether we want to collect it or not really that important, because all that we really wanted was that new CHRONO APEP dragon. And we got it. We got it. Our goal for the castle event is done. So with the event essentially done for us, that means that we've finished what we want to do with just over a day, or just about a day and a half remaining. But that doesn't mean that level 7 is complete, obviously. We've still got stuff that we can do if we want to. But man, this event was not the easiest event of all time by far. Like, this whole level 7 thing, and the level costing tons and tons and tons of event currency. In general, this was a difficult event, especially compared to some of the other events that we have, because generally with castle events, the divine events usually are a little bit tougher than the regular ones, but we tend to have at least like 2.5 days of leeway. I've only missed one single reset this entire Afterlife Adventure castle event, and we basically will barely be able to finish the event with like a day's worth of resets, probably not even remaining. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that because there's 750 points to collect, it's doable, but by the end of it, for example the Win Battles quest, you can see that we are running out of portal gems. We are definitely running out of portal gems at this point. And most players are not gonna have billions and billions and billions of friends that are going to gift them every single day. Which means that most people end up running out of actual tokens to do the battles very quickly. Breeding is literally impossible. Coming back to collect creatures is annoying. So even if you are logging in pretty much all the time, for a lot of people it's still not really doable to finish the event with plenty of time, because the actual tiers themselves, or the amount of points that you need, takes a long time. Long time indeed. If you did manage to get CHRONO APEP, then good work. You probably ended up missing out on a bit of sleep. If you didn't, then I'm glad that the timers work well for you, because in case you didn't know, people around the world, the reset times for everyone is the exact same point in time, but that means that that's at different times depending on where you are in the world. My reset times right now are at 1 AM and 7. And then that's again 1 PM and 7 PM. Which, most of those are fine, but it does mean that I have to be awake past 1 AM minimum every single night, or awake before 7 AM every single day. So it sort of forces you into a certain sleep pattern, or forces you to miss sleep, and that's something I've never really liked about the events. And plus, when you get to this stage, where you're collecting 750 points every reset, for the battles, for the potentially collecting food, for the breeding potentially, definitely for the catching creatures, you're probably going to have to log in more than once in that 6-hour period to actually fully deplete everything, which means you'd probably have to be waking up between 1 and 7 AM in the middle of that time frame, which is like 3 to 4 a.m. And that's not something I suggest. I did do it last night, and I felt horrific. I should not have done it. But that's my main gripe with how all of this works out. I get that they're trying to make it a challenge. I get that they're trying to push the boundaries to force people to want to spend money to finish the events off. But it is really, really extremely demanding when you get to the 750 point tiers of the event. I don't know if they're ever going to change it. They probably won't. It's just... When I try and play castle events, I've never ever felt pleased, because every time I end up missing sleep at some point, and it's for something so pointless, just like an extra chrono divine. We're getting other special divines anyway soon, what's it even matter, you know? At the same time, I do think CHRONO APEP's really cool. He's a little snaky boy. I just wish that the events in general were made a lot easier so that they were more accessible to everyone, instead of just people that have billions of friends or billions of portal gems lying around, a second breeding den, loads of habitats. I mean, if you don't have that many habitats placed down as well, then it's going to be really difficult to get the collecting gold bit done. You got to make sure that your hatchery's free at all times so that 1, you can breed, and 2, you can level up level 1 dragons instead of wasting all of your food. Because if you want to finish off the feeding quest, you got to level up a dragon from level 1 to, what is it, level 24? Partway through 24. And a lot of players can't afford that. Not even close to that. Not multiple times at least. You know, I'm in a good spot where I can easily afford to do all of this stuff in the castle events. You know, the food doesn't cost a lot to do. The actual, you know, just everything about it. The battles, we've got a lot of portal energy for that. Just a lot of things that are a lot easier the higher up in player level you go. Whereas if you're someone that, say, hasn't played the game for very long, just getting into it, you're probably going to struggle quite a lot with finishing off level 7. And I mean, you're probably going to rip your hair out trying to understand how is it possible? How is it possible to get 100% of the points in all of these 6-hour periods? It's impossible. I mean, it's impossible for people that have been playing for like 4 years. Never mind people that have been playing for like 3 weeks. So I don't know. I just feel like it alienates a lot of people, because rather than them ever bothering to finish off events, and people that maybe would have been willing to spend money to finish off the events, they just sort of go, well, I can't make it anywhere near it, so I'm not even going to bother. I don't know. Maybe they have the internal stats that say, no, if you just make it really, really expensive, then it works out better for them monetarily. Maybe that's what they've done. But it seems unlikely. It seems unlikely to me that that's going to be the best course of action. Plus, it just feels bad. Again, if I can't get 100% of the points that I need for battles after 2 entire resets, dude, that's just too much. And plus, let's not forget that this is one of those events where instead of you getting a set amount of event currency for every level, like we've had at one point, it has to rely on key or luck RNG. Dude, remember when we actually had the first castle event that came out, and the amount of points that you could earn was the same on every single tier? It was so good, because it meant that your key RNG, it did sort of matter, but it only really mattered if you were like trying to speed run to the final level reward. But realistically, it didn't matter how quickly you went up in the ranks, because you'd be getting the same amount of points no matter which level you were on. Whereas the problem is now, if you get completely screwed over and you have to open up every single chest on every single level to progress up, you'll be getting a ton less points every reset. Because the higher the level you're on, the more points you get every 6 hours, or it'll have a 450 cap, or a 550 cap, or a 750 cap of points per quest. So, I want the old system back. I want the old system back. They put it in, it was great, and then they brought an event out without it, and then they put in an event with it, and then they've never used it again. I don't know. It was like they accidentally implemented it, or accidentally implemented it a second time, and then we're like, yeah, we're never using that again. But just a lot of decisions that feel like, rather than doing it so that it feels better for the players actually playing, it's purely, and I mean purely, for the sake of trying to squeeze extra dosh out of the consumers. And I wouldn't mind it if it was like 1 or 2 things that where it's like, yeah, you're obviously trying to do that because it's going to get you more money. But it's not just 1 or 2 things, it's like every single thing in the game. I should expect that by now. I've been playing this game long enough. It's not really a surprise. Just sort of annoying. Like, it annoys me knowing that so many people that would be willing to optimize and play this game as good as as a human possibly could, let's say, they'd be willing to do it. But because they're a lower level, they're just at such a distinct disadvantage that they'd have to put in 8 times the effort to get the same reward. It's like how if you're someone that's new to the game, you've got to spend the next 17 years grinding to get the same, or to get to the same point as the people are at right now that are a higher level. But then by the time you get to a higher level, they've skyrocketed. They've got trillions more gold than you and 700 extra dragons than you have. Like, if I started playing DML today, I think I'd just feel too overwhelmed by everything, as in, it's like, well, I'm never gonna have level 100 dragons, I'm never gonna have all of this stuff, I'm never gonna get Chronos upgraded, I'm never gonna get to the highest tier in the Elite League, or the Enchantment League, I'm never gonna finish off the map, you know? There is a hell of a lot to do. A hell of a lot to do, but all of it takes just so long for no reason. Like, imagine if DML was a game that you could just, you know, sit down, grind, and get the rewards from it at any time, rather than having to sit down on the cooldowns all the time. It would be so much better for people that are new, and they just want to get into the game. But then, the people on the highest end would have an infinite amount of resources. So instead, let's cap everyone and make it unenjoyable for everybody instead. Wonderful. But I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles with games like this. It's what you should expect, but I do hope that you get your hands on both of these divines, and I hope that your luck was good on the divine chesties, even though it probably wasn't, if we're being honest. But anywho, I'm happy that we got both of the snaky boys from these events. I guess that'll make do for us. So, for now, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining me. Until next time. I shall see you then.